Come get it! Come get it! Ah! 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 Ah!
When hitch. When hitch. When hitch. When hitch.
Let me into my zone. Please don't let me into my zone. 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 Please don't let.
Well, camera number 2. Welcome back to Krown's Kiddo Cave. Waking up for a little bit of a later Thursday morning over here from a very dark and once again overcast Helsinki, Finland. Want to be wishing you well on this nice start to your Thursday afternoon or morning or whatever fucking time zone you are currently living in. I want to be wishing you well as always, and a massive day today as it is quite literally the 2-year anniversary of this cave. Before we get into the analysis, which I'm actually really chomping at the bit to get into, I do want to say a massive thank you to everyone who's been a part of this place. It has literally become my life, to the point where I don't feel complete unless if I upload a video. It has been something that has added not just like significant amount of value to my life, but has also made it just significant in a way, in some ways. I don't mean to get all romantic or anything like that, but I do want to express gratitude, and I do want to express massive appreciation for everyone here. It's just been so much fun, and well, I don't really know what else to say. I am kind of losing, I'm probably blushing a little bit myself, but I do want to say a massive thank you, and perhaps later on I can articulate my words a little bit better. With that said, there is a 20% off sale period for all programs, of which the new program has actually launched for complete beginners. As always with the programs, please make sure that it is applicable to you by watching the videos, as most people are not going to need any of these programs. Most people, well, they don't want to do this in a more serious manner, and that's completely fine because most people have like lives and shit. If you have like a 9-to-5 job, it will be quite difficult to really take the full value of any of these programs. However, the newest program is focused on complete beginners, bringing them from a complete beginner level to an intermediate level. Then of course we have the main TA program, and then the Master Your Options program. All of which have their relevant videos explaining them on the Krown Trading app, which we're actually looking at right now, which has been reskinned and added a few more features, and we will get into some more upcoming features in the next week. But most importantly, all the trading journal stuff is now live, so take advantage of that. Although it is only linked up to Dribbit for now, we will be encompassing more exchanges as time goes on. Anyways, before we get into any more of that, there's some massive things that I feel like I'm forgetting right now. Yes, that's right. The World Health Organization has dropped the P word, the massive fucking P word, the P word being pandemic. So it has finally been said, and that's actually going to bring up a very, 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 very interesting situation. I'll wait to explain that, but it is kind of like a counter indicator in a way as far as the world markets go, although I do still think that we go a little bit lower. Anyways, looking at our metrics right on over here, we do see that open interest is currently right around 1.1 billion with a B, so we've come down a little bit. Well, price action's coming down, so we're actually seeing open interest still kind of fall off a little bit left of this cliff. I do think that we will start to see the open interest get relatively low once we get below about 1 billion on this metric right here. Should be about 500 million on BitMexico. Should correlate with that. So anywhere between about 900 million right here on the Krown Trading app, which by the way is free, and can be found at app.krowntrading.net. And I sound like the biggest fucking shill now. Anyways. Once it gets below about 1 billion to 900 million, right around here, I would be looking for this move to probably find some local low-ish type area. I'd be expecting to see some bottoming type behavior, at least for the medium, and perhaps even a decent long-term bounce. But with all that, so let's actually get into the analysis right now. And I want to first and foremost say that traditional markets, well, do we want to start off with traditional markets today or Bitcoin? Let's start off with Bitcoin right now. Why not, man? I think I've beat the hedge horse to death here. Anyways, looking at Bitcoin, this is a bi-weekly actually. You do see that it's very, 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 very likely that we are going to see that green 55 exponential average tested. So I do think that we're going to go a little bit lower here, even though we did hit the proverbial target at 7,500 from that breakdown that we saw yesterday. Just trading blue box to blue box. Increasing volume on this dump does make me think that we head a little bit lower. In fact, 7,350 is looking like the next sort of interim support. If you want to be talking about the lower term timeframes, we're right around here. Let's see. There it is. Should be right around. We can make another blue box. Now, this is only very, 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 very low time frame type stuff, just like this area was yesterday night, which Bitcoin did have a small initial bounce off of, but right now, not really respecting it, even like a low time frame. So again, that one, as we've been saying, is nothing more than just a very, 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 very short term move. So we can get rid of it now because it's no longer relevant, and more importantly, we can just move this guy down, and we have our next blue box of peace and prosperity, kind of governing the low time frame moves. And while I would be looking for a little bit of a bouncy bounce here on the lower term time frames, let's see if we're going to be creating anything resembling something of divergence here on these lower time frames. And unfortunately, no. Well, the thing is that the 4 hour is going to be making bullish divergence relatively soon on this next drop, but I do think that it suggests that we have a little bit more to go. Momentum oscillators are turning down freshly once again, rejecting getting out of the bearish control zone, just as we spoke about yesterday. And I would imagine that that's going to be mediated by all the other lower time frames. So we got 3 hours coming down, 2 hours coming down, and whoops, that's the 90 minute, but that one actually does get price action pretty damn well. And hourly, same thing as well. So I do think that Bitcoin's likely going to be finding another short-term bounce relatively soon in this region. Overall, though, I do think that Bitcoin goes lower. I do think that Bitcoin's going to go somewhere into like the low 7,000s, around $6,900 to $7,000-ish region, and then set it up for perhaps a more longer-term bounce. Keep in mind that we certainly do still have this proverbial head and shoulders on, what was it, the weekly? I think it was. No, it was not the weekly. It was the daily. It was the fucking daily. There we go, right there with your neckline at that. What level was that at? It was right at the 200 simple and 200 exponential moving average, which are, by the way, about to cross the downside once again. Not good. And actually death cross not soon far away either. Anyways, the measure move on this is actually pointed a little bit lower than that, technically all the way down to about 6,700. But I do think that anywhere around the base of this formation, kind of where we bottomed out in December of 2019, is likely to be the next sort of muddy territory. But this area is really starting to shape up the same as what we saw in 2018. Very, 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 very similar formations going on right over here. We did have this massive descending triangle throughout all of 2018, of course. It's putting in lower highs along the way. Now, while we do have one-off higher high right here from this last rally, it did ultimately fail. And if we were to look at this on a monthly, it would just look like lower highs overall. But more importantly, as long as we're kind of following this, I do have to say that this is very, 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 very reminiscent of 2018. Means that we're probably going to tighten ourselves up within these bounds. But if you see a range created between about 6,900 and a declining one at about 5 digits and going down pretty damn fast, coming in around 9,000 right now, probably not going to be good, especially coming into later this year. The other confirming factor on this is that we actually do have some pretty nasty, not nasty, but we do have volume signature confirming this as well. So not only do we have a potential descending triangle in the works right here, but we also do have volume signature confirming that as well. And of course, all the higher time frames like the weekly are not looking like the picture of health and fitness right now, unfortunately, as we spoke about coming into this week. Weekly Stokes coming down, momentum oscillator is getting this one damn well once again, and weekly RSI almost down there around our last bottoming area in middle of December. So I do think that we're going to see a little bit of a bouncy bounce in this region, and then probably curl this around. But it would imply that we do have a little bit more of a drive to go lower. I think again, like anywhere between 6,900 and 7,100 looks about good to me. We do see that the bottom of this range also does line up with one of our lesser known and lesser used Fibonacci's. This one does actually get respected, the 942, but very few people have it on their charts because this one seems to get a lot of, actually quite a bit of love in cryptocurrency land. It's kind of like the last chance bounce. So it is a high probability area for bounce, but the thing is, is that bounce going to be like a true reversal where we go back above 10,000 or 10,500, wherever our last major high is on a weekly closing basis, 10,005? Probably unlikely, but that would be the next actually major area to be aware of for getting like massively bullish on Bitcoin. Problem is just about $3,000 away from the current price action, so not all that relevant to what we're looking at right now. And to me, it looks like we're going to be testing the downside of this range first and foremost. But keep in mind, I am not actually looking for a break on this potential descending triangle until way later this year, maybe November, maybe even all the way in December, which is funnily enough exactly when it broke in 2018 as well. Anyways, I hate to make this into like a fractal discussion, and Is this a fractal discussion? No, it's not actually, because we do see that major moving averages have a completely different a very similar alignment. We see the same sort of death cross going on right on over here as we saw on this failed rally right on over here, and then ever since then it just starts to get more and more wound down. So fair enough, major moving averages would kind of confirm that fact. But it's gonna, it's likely to take its time. Of course, I also do want to say that daily bullish divergence likely will be building, but the thing is that we do have to come a little bit lower first, most likely, as it is right now. There is no bullish divergence on a daily, and I would not really be willing to call like a medium or higher time frame bounce until we do get bullish divergence on a daily. In fact, come to think of it, I've never seen a reversal on the, especially on the macro, but even on like the medium term timeframes. No, not the medium, but the long term timeframes until we get, bullish divergence on at the very least a daily. We saw it down around here on this run between, what was this low? About 7,000 and then 6,600 right here. We saw it actually a very similar reaction in 2018 as well. Again, I don't want to bring up the conversation of what's it called? Fractals. I don't really believe in it, but I do believe that from a moving average perspective, things are pretty damn similar. And the second that we get all major moving averages once again trending down with all lower periods below higher periods, which you can kind of just like draw it out as long as we follow this trend line, will happen somewhere right around here in a little bit later this year, as soon as July, but as late as like November, December. Again, assuming that we do follow that, which is a big assumption to be making. So fair enough. I am making a humongous assumption here. That will naturally line up, and past history has not been has not been too kind to that. Anyways, we do like I said, this inverted head and shoulders over here, very similar to this descending broadening wedge running over here. Massive rally spurned upon that, which actually did get us above our former major resistance back in 2018, and back on over here as well. If we actually drew the trend lines for that, for that way, let me make sure that I'm doing it right. There we go. It was something like this, right? And we were following that the whole way through. We break above it. Everyone gets very, very excited, myself included. I do not exclude myself from that group, because I do believe that that's the way that's just the way that I'm going to be trading. But going back running over here, same thing, this trend line gets taken out, rejection, boom, back all the way down, especially below that trend line as well, which we are now well below here. Anyways, more importantly, going forwards, this failed rally, very similar to this failed rally, especially from an RSI perspective. We do see that the RSI did print in a nice head and shoulders right here, which again, I do put a lot more weight on price action. We didn't necessarily get the same we didn't necessarily get the same head and shoulders on RSI. It was a little bit more of a complicated one, in the more proximal times right here, but in price action we certainly did. And with that measurement point is all the way down towards our prior lows, it does make me think that we will very likely see that region, and we will very likely bounce off that region. I do think that things are getting a little bit hot here with historical volatility percentile this red this soon. I don't think that this has all that much more to go before relatively speaking. I do think that we have another, I don't know, $300-400 overall to go here, but I'm not necessarily saying that happens today or tomorrow. Overall though, this likely line up for a bounce in this region. I do want to follow up on the jewel signal from the last few days. We got a continuation sell signal right in over here, or a hodl your short signal. That was on the 7th 8th of March, which was 4 or 5 days ago, right around here for this breakdown. So again, just kind of playing out. So if you do have access to the jewel, that's what a hodl your short signal looked like, which I think was a little bit more obvious on CMEs, to be fair. And looking at CME chart, as we said yesterday, looking at CME chart was just more obviously bearish, and we're getting the same sort of signal here on daily jewel. It's curling down. We're getting that same curling down effect that we spoke about a couple days ago to look out for around the same date at the 8th of March. And this one would suggest that we probably have a little bit more momentum to go before we get into like a bottoming area, which if I had to call right now, I do think is going to be low 7,000, upper 6,000 most likely. Daily divergence not present at all. I'm sure that some people are going to be, but Krown, don't we have divergence between this point and this point? No, well, obviously fucking not, because we don't have lower lows just yet. And also it's pretty damn far away from this posture, and I'd rather see it kind of like right next to each other within about 2 weeks of price action. Those are the really juicy ones. Anyways, I'm curious if the life hack of the 12-hour Stokes is still working. Yes, indeed it is. Still has not crossed up. A lot of people asked me yesterday, but Krown, the 12-hour Stokes look they're about to cross to the upside. Should I get bullish? Is it time to long? waiting for confirmation when you have 10 hours left to go in a 12-hour dildo is of the essence of virtues, I suppose. As you can see, this one just absolutely fucking nosediving through all hell, and we won't even have bullish divergence even possibly be made on the 12-hour just yet. I'm curious how spot price action looks in relationship to CME. Spot will have a chance to actually put in a little bit of bullish divergence if it can actually confirm a local low, but this is all continuation right here as it stands. So unfortunately, that will not be had at the very soonest. It could happen at the daily dildo close, but it won't be happening, especially in the next 4 hours. So with that said, let's start to mark off these areas again. And from a lower time frame perspective, it's still just a game of blue box to blue box, with the trend in bias being to the downside. I do think that we're going to bounce off here a little bit in the lower term time frames. Where does this bounce likely get us back to? I think anywhere around 7,600 is probably fine. Doesn't really destroy any structure, maybe even a little bit above 7,600, but that would likely be another sell. And realistically, it's not even like short-term bullish until we get a short-term reversal, which would be had with the move back of about 7,750, the last prior breakdown point. Until that happens, direction is still kind of down, and with all momentum also is pointed down right now, it does make me think that we'll see the bottom of this run first before, fucking obviously we're going to see the bottom of this run first, but I mean the bottom of this run from like a higher time frame perspective first before we see a low time frame legitimate bounce. Although again, from this area right here, do you think that it's going to bounce a little bit? Again, I don't really have like a specific target for it. 7550, 7600-ish region looks fine, but as long as we're especially below 7750, the bias is still very much to the downside, even from the short-term time frames. That's essentially the picture that I'm painting right now, and I do think that ultimately we will be breaking 7350-ish region and initiate the next the next short-term move down to about 7100-ish region. So $250 trade, which we have to realize now, because Bitcoin's at a lower price point, actually does make up a much bigger percentage gain, or percentage loss, I suppose. A little bit dubious there, but my point is that it is still certainly tradable. I know that there's going to be some people out there, oh my god, only you're saying it's going to have a $250 move? Wow, great analysis, dumb Krown. It's like, this is the way that I trade, man. Going from blue box to blue box for the most part, and not really being like a long-term hodler. Although I do long-term hodl Bitcoin, but I don't really consider that. I consider that just dead money, essentially, just kind of like a hedge against myself. If for whatever reason Bitcoin were to just reverse and do an inverse moon right now, which, by the way, for all of the Carls and Mr. Martins living out there, listen to this, maybe not listen to this, perhaps listen to this, turn off your fucking ears, because this one needs parental advisory, my friends. We're gonna get a little bit deep and dirty into this a little bit later, but for right now, I'll give you the warning exactly right here in minute 17 and 24 seconds. There you go. Anyways, so yeah, I do think that a small time frame bounce right here, assuming that bounce just fails to get back above 7750, which I think even getting back above 7600 is going to be a little bit of an issue. I'd be looking for that bounce to get sold into, and we find our way back down around here. I'd also be looking at the open interest to get absolutely crushed during that time below 1 billion, and that would be a good marker that we are likely setting up for a good bounce, maybe a couple $1,000 bounce again. But remember 2018, don't get sucked into the hype until we have something completely new confirmed and going on, as well. I think the history speaks for itself. Anyways, as it stands right here, I do want to make sure that I do have this Fibonacci retracement done exactly the way that I want to for this move. I will use Wicks and I will use bodies, and let's see which one is working better right now. And yes, actually Wicks is going to be working better right now. And funnily enough, in Bitcoin land, I have found that Wicks generally work better, which is kind of funny. You don't see the same thing in traditional or Forex. Bodies tend to work better there, but we do see that yes, the 786 Fibonacci retracement is coming in right around where our current blue box is. We broke down from the 618 yesterday, or sorry, after getting rejected from there. The last breakdown before that, the 0.5 rejection at the 302, and the bias change, which made us go from bullish to bearish, was the break of the 236 right around here, right around 9600. So ever since that happened, the daily and higher time frame bias been to the downside. Lower time frames, obviously ebb and flow, but I would be looking for plays off these regions. And what do you know? The 886 comes in where? Comes in right around the lowest blue box, right around here, which I do think that Bitcoin likely does test somewhere in this region, anywhere between 6,900 and like 7,100. I'd be looking for some bottoming behavior. If you see some bullish divergence on a daily, that's going to likely be the next big opportunity. Of course, this is not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor, but I do want to get onto traditional markets right now because remember, they are not definitely correlated. When's my fucking hedge coming in, Carl? Huh? Why don't you tell me that, baby? Why don't you tell me that? Anyways, looking at this right over here, we are still bouncing off the 618 to be fair. But this market data, and I'm not getting pre-market data right now, unfortunately. And no disrespect to anyone out there, I'm just fucking having a laugh. It's I hope that no one gets offended by that. Just fucking dumb jokes, man. If you're not here for a silly goose time, I don't know what to tell you, man. Anyways, we don't have pre-market running just yet, so I can't really see where markets are trading right now, but I'd imagine it's probably down. The reason why I say that is because all of the world markets that are trading right now are down pretty damn heavy. We got Japan, I think, is already closed for the day. Are they closed for the day? Yeah, they are closed for the day. They closed major down, another almost 4.5%. DAX Germany is doing what? They're not opened yet, so fair enough. We have to wait a little bit of time for that, and then we'll have to wait for what's it called, England as well. But I'd imagine that they're probably going to be down. And of course, going back to SPY for a second here, it is important to remember that yesterday night, I do believe that, or yesterday night for myself, President Trump got onto the the airwaves, whatever the fuck you call them nowadays, and basically said that travel is all closed from the European nations to America, which is pretty damn serious. Now, I am not a virus expert. I'm not claiming to know what the fuck's going on with the coronavirus or anything like that, but it would seem to me that it's pretty damn serious, seeing as, we've obviously been in, or I'm gonna imagine that granted off the statistics, most people here have at least lived through like SARS and swine flu, H1N1, all that good stuff, or maybe not so good, the avian flu, that shit, the bird flu. And I don't remember anything like this happening where it's literally the U.S. is starting to close, its borders and whatnot, and basically the world. I mean, millions of people on quarantine, on lockdown. It's just fucking insane. So again, this is why I do say that the people who are cheering on the global financial collapse are just assholes. I mean, first things first, you're basically cheering for a fucking virus to win. Whose team are you goddamn on? Jesus Christ, man. It's like, it's easy to say until you're affected. Anyways, traditional markets probably going to open lower, and I do feel a little bit more confident that we will see the 265 level tacked, but I do think that we are getting closer and closer here to a bottom. Now let me explain this concept. So now that the World Health Organization has dropped the P word, the pandemic world, there's a little bit backwards of a concept here going on. So understand that the traditional market is actually a leading indicator, meaning that it's pricing in things for like the next 30 years. It's not just like today, tomorrow, the next day, the next week. It's literally for the next 30 years. So once the pandemic word is dropped and the world is like really taking it as seriously as it can, the market should have an initial jolt, and very, very likely we will be headed lower. But I would look relatively soon, meaning like the next couple months, for some bottoming action. The reason being because, again, it's a forward, it is a leading indicator, meaning that it's pricing in all the things to come. And with this virus, from a lot of the experts that I've listened to, they do seem to agree on one major thing. The virus probably does run its course. It's not going away anytime soon, but it probably does run its course over the next 6 months. So we're not going to be, living like this for forever. Can a lot of damage be done in the interim? Yes, absolutely, 100%. But I would look for the marks to bottom before we're out of the rough on the good old coronavirus, as it is, they all seem to agree on two things. The fact that it's going to take its time to run, and it's not going to destroy humanity, but it's going to cause a lot of pain in the interim. So again, I'm not a fucking doctor. I'm not the person that you should be listening to on any of that kind of shit. I'm just relaying and parroting, people who spend their life's, work kind of learning that stuff. Anyways, I do think that we probably, if I had to guess, we're probably going to open up lower again today, somewhere in the 260s. I'd look for a move down to the 200 simple and 200 exponential moving average, and I'd look for an initial bounce off those regions as well. If that bounce actually does fail and we really start opening and closing weekly deltas below this region, that's when I'd actually get concerned for a much more prolonged move to the downside. And probably overall, I'd be looking at this 240-ish region. It is, again, the 942. It's also going to be kind of around the 886, but I do like how the weekly 377 is starting to rise its way up around there. And I do think that that would probably be enough damage to really, scare everyone out of their fucking shoes. And also hitting some major moving averages, especially here on the higher time frames like the monthly and weekly. So I do like that area if 265 fails, but 265 has to fail first. So I'd expect to bounce off it on the first pass. You're going to see all the buy algos essentially switch on around that region as they typically do. The question is, do we start opening and closing weekly doses below it? If that does happen, then we actually have major issues, because then the buy algos are going to switch into sell algos, and they're going to start selling every rally, and we'll probably get another cascade of effects. So right now, I don't think that we've actually even seen margin calls come into play or anything like that. I think that we've just seen people basically take profit over the last few years. You can see that all of the strong hands. I'm not talking about retailers here. I'm not talking about mom and pa. I'm talking about, the people who actually move this fucking market. Big institutions playing with billions and billions and billions, like hundreds of billions in some cases. They were all buying in like way back on over here. And all throughout like 2009 to probably like 2015, 2016. And so they're actually still fine here, and they probably will buy this bounce. I mean, they kind of have to in a sense. Obviously they don't have to do anything, but they likely will. And the reason why that is relevant is because there will be traps and there will be squeezes. And if we actually do see a change of behavior here from the long term, where you do see weeklies opening and closing below this region right here, that's when things really start to turn around from the long-term, investor perspective. And those are the guys, again, who move the markets. They're the ones who actually, creating this, this price action right here. And then once they start getting into like actual losses, that's when the margin calls comes into place. And you likely will start to be in a loss once you start to violate this area, especially long term. So that's how things actually can get pretty catastrophic for the traditional markets. But again, if this area does fail overall, and it's it'd probably take its time to happen, I would be looking for essentially a retest of the December 2018 low, which would be really fucking nasty, to be fair, and probably wipes just about everyone out. Anyways, let's go check out some of the other coins in this market. the other altcoins. And what do you know? We got Mr. Buterol. Oh, what's this? We got a little bit of...
Oh, God! Oh, God!
When hit. When hit.
I would like to know when the hedge is coming. What the fuck's going on here, Mr. Buterol? Getting stonewalled at almost $300, and then putting in all the hidden bearish divergence in the world and playing out this formation just as we spoke about. Again, not trying to sound arrogant here, but following the same trend line that we've seen all the way from February 2017 on weekly stows, calling all the major highs since then. Holy shit. And guess what? All these major highs leading up to 60 to 70% corrections. What's this right here? 65% correction. What's this right here? Another 70% correction. What's this right here? Another 65% correction. What would happen if we corrected 60 to 50% from that region? Oh, what's this? We'd be testing exactly this trend line. So I do think that it will test this trend line. I also do think that it'll probably bounce off this trend line, at least on the first pass. And I would still say that long term, it probably is fine, actually. I don't think that the market's like truly going together, but it will if you do see, especially this local low right here getting taken out to the downside. And when I say taken out to the downside, I mean if we start closing weekly deltas below 130-ish region, that's when this one's a little bit too wrecked to care, and we'll probably come all the way back down below $100 again. But for right now, breaking all major moving averages to the downside, just as we said, and I do think that it's probably going to head its way down to about 150-ish region overall. I don't really have a time frame for that, but looking at all of the, looking at all momentum oscillators, not looking good. That hidden bearish divergence call looking pretty, pretty fucking frothy here. Anyways, heading on over to, this is Mr. Buterol. Let's go check out Mrs. Litecoin. How's she doing? Oh, that looks familiar. That looks quite familiar as well. Tell me more about this one. Target hit, by the way.
When hit.
Little bit of that action going on today. Moon boys are on hold, unfortunately. This one does make me more concerned, though, and the reason why it makes me more concerned is because we are seeing all momentum oscillators turn down like pretty aggressively here, and we're already on the support that you'd really want to see hold. Now, if this area does break, I would, I suppose I would be looking down around here towards $30 to the $33 region, somewhere right around here. That's kind of a big region, so it probably doesn't help all that much. Let's maybe go down to a daily and see if we can nail it down a little bit better. Now this, I really like this sort of block right here, actually. So yeah, I would be looking for it to come back down to like $32 to 32 and a half to $31, somewhere right around here would be about right. But for right now, I do think that it's actually going to try to bounce off this region. Again, it's very extreme right here. So I wouldn't mind like a small relief bounce, small relief rally, but overall, if it does end up breaking this region, or especially prints below this last prior low, I look for extension another, what is this, like $10 lower? About $10 lower, yeah. Anyway, which on Mrs. Litecoin's like a humongous move. I mean, that's like a 25% move. It's fucking huge. But again, I think it's going to try to bounce here as well. And I'd look for Mrs. Litecoin to kind of set the tone in a way, because she has in the past, to be fair. And now that I'm looking at this on a daily, I do realize that this is not perfectly drawn. I could make a little bit more of an excuse for it all the way over here, saying that same trend line comes in slightly lower, right around $41 even. So fair enough. Anyways, let's go check out Stellar, how the other beautiful altcoin's doing. Oh no, another weekly downtrend. How could this be? How could the government let this happen? It's been downtrending for the last 2 years, 2 fucking years, and you're talking about
When het.
Tell me more, baby. Tell me fucking more. Oh, what's this? A nice little death cross coming in on the weekly as well. Oh, how beautiful. How fucking beautiful. And I would say that if we take out the last major wick low at 4.20 cent, great level. I suppose the next area to be looking towards is like 3 cents even. 2.5 to 3 cents. I mean, that's not even that helpful. That's a humongous range at this price point. It's in fucking free fall. It's been downtrending for the last two years. I don't think that is switching around. I mean, there isn't really, Jesus Christ. Look at this lower high right here getting rejected as the death cross is about to happen. Unless this thing gets like a 50% rally, more than a 50% rally in the next couple of weeks, this one will get death cross on a weekly. I don't think I've seen a death cross on a weekly in cryptocurrency land on like any major altcoin, maybe even ever. Let's go look at Monero. Monero doing the same thing, of course, off the lows, having this nice potential ascending triangle, but Jesus Christ, man, it really makes you think as well, like with momentum also just turning down in this territory, are we due for more? If we take out this last low, this one's going to get a death cross as well, and I'd be looking for a move back down to realistically $38. And this is a weekly, by the way. This is a weekly. The daily's probably already death crossed, come to think of it. Nope, it's not. It's getting there, though. But I do think that is probably in a bounce territory here as well. So I do think that on the lower term time frames, at the very least, most crypto is going to be getting ready for bounce time. EOS, oh my God, EOS just got skeeted on too. Jesus fucking Christ, man. No disrespect to all the believers out there. I believe as well in my own way, but I mean no disrespect because, well, I don't know, man. It's probably unwarranted. It's probably annoying to deal with as well. Anyways, looking at this same thing essentially. If we do take out this last local low, I suppose I mean really not too much to go off of here even. But I would be looking for 155 to be retested. But again, first things first, I would look for a bounce off this region. I do think that it will bounce off this region. If the bounce fails though, that's the big issue. Let's go see the real hedge, gold. How's gold doing? Oh no, my golds! Fuck, man. Peter Schiff's gonna be pissed about this one. Hey, getting a little bit of Lexington Steel action right around here as well. Oh, come in, get it. Come in, fucking get it, Mr. Schiff. There, that's right. There is no hedge. There is no hedge. Get waterboarded with this information. There is no hedge. What happened in 2008 when the whole world crashed? The global financial collapse, 34.5% down. How could that be? How could the government let this happen? How could Peter Schiff let this happen? This is the gold rock that's supposed to be the real hedge for the global turmoil that we're experiencing right now. Well, what do you fucking know? Not doing all that well now, is it? However, on a weekly closing schedule, still actually looking fine, to be fair, but on a daily, not so much. And the daily jewel sell signal is actually starting to curl its way around. I would like to see a more perfect one than this, to call a better high, but this one probably is suggesting that the momentum is waning quite significantly. We're gonna see all momentum oscillators turn down at the same time. Technically bearish evidence as well, but I do think that already has played out. Historical volatility percentile very, 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 very red. So I do think that we are kind of at a local high nonetheless. The question is though, how does this weekly end? If this weekly ends like this, I need to see the weekly closure. Maybe this one actually is going to be a hedge. Hold on. This one actually might be a hedge. I take back everything that I said. Lexington Steel, run that shit back and and let's put our eyes on this. I'm not convinced just yet. I need to see another week of price action here. Could be. On the daily, it looks toppy. On the weekly, not just yet. It's close. But not just yet. It actually still might be an actual hedge. So sorry about that, Peter Schiff. I take everything back and I apologize. What else do we want to look at? Cardano. What's my Cardano? No! Fuck! Oh, man! Cardano! No! Cardano got...
Oh, God! Oh, God!
It would appear we have another weekly lower high. Sorry. I think that 460 call right on the fucking money there. But will there be a bounce? Maybe. Actually, probably yes. But I think that bounce gets sold into. As long as this one's below 530, it's bearish AF is the technical term. What else do we want to look at? Actually, euro dollar. Why not, man? Why not? It's a nice fun day. Ooh, nice rejection right there. Holy shit, man. This room really did get going. Let's see how the monthly's doing. The monthly could be a little bit bottoming here. I want to see how the monthly closes, but long term, we might be looking at a bottom. Short term, I do think that it probably pops back up towards 113.75. Yeah, something like that. It is starting to put in a little bit of bullish evidence. Nah, actually, no, there's no bullish evidence on the low. Probably going to swipe this low again. If that puts in bullish evidence on the 4, then yes, I would look for another retest of like 113.7 region. But overall, I need to see the monthly to get like the real direction for this one. Or get better clarity on that. Better said, perhaps. Anyways, what else do we want to look at? I think that might be even it. There's one other big thing that I wanted to point out. So now, by this time, probably most people have left this channel, and if you are still here, we can go back into the correlations and speak about this a little bit more. So I do get a lot of like trolling message. I don't know if they're trolling or not, but in the off chance that they are serious, a lot of people will say something like this, like SPY closed down 4% yesterday, and Bitcoin closed unched. Bitcoin's a hedge, not correlated. Okay, first off, you don't understand correlation, covariance, R squared, p-values, confidence intervals. So first, make sure you learn that. I'll do a little bit of an explanation here for what's relevant, but correlations are not had really on it. I mean, correlations can be on a day-to-day basis, but you're really talking about betas, what you're talking about, which is in a way kind of like a variance or a derivative of covariance in the way that I understand it. And by that metric, that's not what we're saying here. What we want to be concerned with is, in the way that I understand it, people want Bitcoin to essentially be the response, be the safe haven for when the world goes into turmoil, kind of in the way that gold has been acting, but that still remains a little bit yet to be seen. Anyways, my point with this is that if that were to be true, what you'd expect is that Bitcoin would actually have a negative correlation with traditional markets. We don't see that at all. In fact, we see quite a strong positive correlation, especially on the higher term timeframes. Correlation coefficient right here is showing a 0.58, which is relatively strong. You don't really see too many assets that have that high. And then more importantly, the R squared, which is essentially doing a regression on the correlation coefficient, measures essentially how much of that data actually fits, and that's incredibly high. Like 0.67 is the highest I've ever seen. Bitcoin correlated with any other, Bitcoin having that value with any other asset. To put that in perspective again, I like to use the example of gold because people like to consider Bitcoin digital gold. That argument doesn't really hold up, unfortunately. First off, the correlation coefficient is about the same as traditional markets, to be fair, but the R squared is 0.289, so very little of that data fits. You can see right on over here, the covariance, they actually do move quite well with each other, but more importantly, you do see the same thing with SPY, with traditional markets. In fact, you're going to see that all these things are essentially correlated with each other to begin with. It's the world market moves together. The world is so connected at this point. You can't really just say except for a few one-offs here and there, you can't really say that in general. You can't really say that they're uncorrelated. I mean, everything's kind of correlated. It's just the same people moving around money for the most part. Anyways, so the point that I'm making here is that correlations, you don't really want to be looking at it on a day-to-day basis to begin with. Like looking at the closing price of traditional market and looking at the closing price of Bitcoin is first off, they don't even close at the same fucking time, to be like, use your goddamn brain. And then second, sorry, I don't mean to be more disrespectful than I need to be in this. And I'm only criticizing ideas here, not people, to be very clear. This is not directed at anyone, of course. It's only directed at ideas, which I think are misleading and misguided and perpetuated by who knows what the motivations are. But the thing is here is that we just don't see that. That's just not what you see on the whole. And what matters most for an asset that you'd expect to act as a long-term actual hedge towards a downwards market, we don't see that at all. If you're looking at it on a daily basis, it's not even relevant to the long term if you're talking about, like, again, an actual hedge to global financial meltdown. And on the whole, as you can see right here, and this would be even better if we could actually get, I'd like to put BLX up here instead, but it basically just show one more cycle. Anytime that traditional markets are rallying, so is Bitcoin. Anytime that traditional markets are having a correction or perhaps even a recession, as we're kind of finding out right now, Bitcoin is falling with it. And we can go back. I think it's better to go back right on over here. I do want to, I will go a little bit deeper into this because I figure most people probably already clicked off this video, especially according to my analytics, but we can check it out together and do this one like this. So, you do see, if we can put this on, we got this one on log scale, we got this one on log, no, we do not have this on log scale. There we go. Okay, beautiful. We do see that on the whole, on the macro, which is going to be shown by a monthly, when traditional markets are essentially in an uptrend, so is Bitcoin. Bitcoin has a lot more to gain off those, though. So people also don't understand the difference between correlation and covariance, for example, in this example, because I see a lot of people, I won't name any YouTubers' names, but they'll say, Bitcoin went up 1,000%. Show me where SPY did that, or show me where traditional markets did that. Well, now you're talking about covariance. Of course, Bitcoin moves more. It's like an altcoin to the traditional market, but they are correlated. So traditional market sets a trend, Bitcoin sets the emotional reaction to it. And you see the same thing right over here, right? They're both rallying basically since the inception of Bitcoin, and then they both have this nice correction in 2011. I was trading during that time. I remember it was actually pretty damn intense for traditional markets. And then traditional markets always make a new all-time high first, and then Bitcoin follows a little bit later. And then we rally up again. We do the same thing in 2013, 2014. Bitcoin tops out first. Traditional markets top out actually a little bit, quite a bit later, about a year later. But they do go through the same sort of corrective period after that. Bitcoin going down 70%, traditional markets going down like 15%, which again is a big deal for traditional markets. Then traditional markets make new all-time highs first. Bitcoin falls like a year later, and then they both top out pretty much at the same time in 2018, beginning bottom out at the same time right on over here, actually in February, March of 2018 as well. And then we do see the same thing bottoming out again in December 2018, and then more recently, while SPY was kind of making new highs, Bitcoin was trying to rally, and now SPY coming down to a level where it's going to really make us think that it's not likely to happen, or at least if this one's going to set the trend, and we're actually going to enter into a downtrend on the monthly, which we've not had a single downtrend on the monthly on traditional markets since the inception of Bitcoin. We have on a weekly, but not really on a monthly. I suppose this one right here could kind of count, but we never really set in a lower high, unfortunately. Kind of did, kind of didn't, but no follow through, more importantly. So now we very likely will get an actual chance to look at this. If traditional markets go into like a true downtrend on a monthly and enter into like quite literally a recession, which is technically 20% or more of downwards action, which I think we are at right now. Sorry, this is done in Bitcoin terms, but the history is that it doesn't really bode too well for Bitcoin. Doesn't mean that it can't change. And I do certainly agree with people out there who are saying like, let me go back on over here. I do agree with people out there saying that things could change. Absolutely, 100%. That's what it means to be a trader. But as it is of this moment, yeah, we are 20% down exactly, exactly to the T actually. So we quite literally will be entering a recession relatively soon, if there's any more downside, especially if we hit 265. But again, back on topic. It could change, obviously, and we have never seen Bitcoin react, we've never seen Bitcoin be existent during an actual recession in the market. We've only seen corrections. So, could it be different? Yes, it could be different. Would I expect it to be different based upon just the former macro trends? No, I'd expect it to follow traditional market and be more of an emotional reactor, essentially. Anyways, what else do we want to talk about? Have we gotten everything out of the way? Let's go check out GBTC. GBTC basically back down around our December 2019 lows. So I do think that Bitcoin will be reaching into that region overall. I don't really have a time frame for that, but this one is starting to, we are starting to see some bull wicks right around here. Not really the picture of health and fitness again, and I still don't see any bullish divergence on the daily RSI like at all. But maybe another swipe of the lows. Just hope that it doesn't actually break. That would be pretty damn catastrophic. I don't think that it will, at least anytime soon. But I do think that it probably does overall. And I probably shouldn't say that. Anyways, before I say anything more without really thinking, I think it's time to start to sign off on this video. I want to apologize to anyone that I offended out there. Also, there was warning, so fair enough. but more importantly, I didn't really get a chance to kind of explain the programs. All of the programs, I want to make sure that you have taken advantage of all the free content on this channel first before ever considering getting into them, because again, it's really not going to be applicable to most people. These programs are fucking long, except for the newer newbie program. But they're around 40 hours long, which is a massive investment. With not just time, but the thing is like you won't get anything out of it if you don't have that time to put into it and really study hard and really put the effort in. And realistically, I'm not ever going to tell anyone that trading's an easy line of work or an easy profession or whatever the fuck you want to say. It's going to take time, and from what I've noticed, it usually takes people around. Some people are faster, some people are slow, of course, but I'd say on average between 6 months to 1.5 years before they really start to like soak in the ideas and make a lot of it. Of course, there are some people who are faster than that. There are some people who are slower than that, or there are some people who never even get there. But I do believe that the people who put in that effort, around that time frame is when they really start to see like, the wheels click. Anyways, I'll let you make that decision for yourself. I'm going to get out of the way here, and I probably won't be on Twitch later tonight, but I will very likely be on tomorrow. And with that said, I want to wish everyone well once again. I hope everyone can stay safe. And again, I want to say a massive thank you to everyone who's been on this channel. This has been, like I said, doing this channel has added so much fucking value to my life. I don't think that I have the right words to articulate exactly the magnitude of its meeting, but I'll have to think of that over the next few days. But again, just a massive thank you from me to you, and take care until next time.